This is an instructional video on solving problems with negative exponents. The important part to remember when solving problems with negative exponents is to rewrite them as a fraction. When you are rewriting them as a fraction, the base number and the exponent, both, go in the denominator. That's the bottom. Anything else, a coefficient, another variable, a positive exponent, anything else stays on top, stays in the numerator. Because negative exponents are written as fractions, their values are between 0 and 1. They represent small numbers. So for our first example, we have the base number 7 and the exponent -5. We are going to take that base number and the exponent and write it in the denominator. Notice the -5 turns into a +5. In the numerator, since we have nothing left in the problem, we write it with a 1 in the numerator. The same process also works with variables. If we have the base number x and the exponent -8, we would take the base number and the exponent and write it in the denominator. Notice the -8 turns into a +8. Because there's nothing else in the problem, we write it with a 1 in the numerator. For our third example, we're going to do 3x to the -4th. Now in this problem, the base number is the x because it has an exponent. The exponent is a -4, so we change that into a +4 and write it in the denominator. We have a 3 left over. This 3 was not used. It stays on top in the numerator position. Again, it does still apply with variables. In the problem, xy to the -7th, take the base number and the exponent and put them in the denominator. It's a +7 now. Anything that is left, including the x variable, goes on top. For our next example, we're going to do a to the -3rd, b to the 4th. Remember, only the part that's negative goes into the denominator. So in this case, a to the -3rd is our negative exponent. B to the 4th is not. A to the 3rd goes on the bottom, B to the 4th stays on top because it is positive. A little bit more of a challenge problem. We're going to do 5m to the -5th, n to the -6th, and s squared. Take only the base numbers with negative exponents, in this case m and n, and write them in the denominator. So that becomes m to the 5th and n to the 6th. They're now positive. The 5 in the beginning is a coefficient. It stays on top. S to the 2nd power is positive exponent. It also stays in the numerator. For our next example, we're going to do 3 times 2 to the -4th. Again, the base number with the negative exponent goes on the bottom, and it changes into a positive exponent. Anything else left in the problem gets moved to the numerator on top. All that's left is our 3, so that's what stays on top. To change it up a little bit, we have a base number of 15 and an exponent of -x. Even though the exponent is a variable, you can still write it as a fraction. Put the base number down on the denominator with a positive exponent, so we've changed it from negative x to positive x. There's nothing else left in the problem, so we put a 1 in the numerator. Last example, c to the 9th times e to the negative 2nd. Again, we take the negative exponent and the base number and write it in the denominator. It becomes e to the positive 2nd. Whatever is left, in this case, c to the 9th, stays on top in the numerator.